Convening for action in British Columbia. Our mission, the partnership's mission, develop tools, develop talent, focus on outcomes. So one of the tools you can Google waterbalance.ca. You can Google waterbucket.ca. But really my key message here is that the Water Sustainability Action Plan for British Columbia is being delivered through a partnership between government and a non-government entity, which is the partnership. The partnership is incorporated as a society. Now, I should be candid and tell you that the partnership came about because people in government were on committees and realized that the legacy, the sustainability of the legacy of what we were doing could only be sustained by creating a legal entity. So in 2010, we did incorporate the partnership. So the partnership's responsibility really is the outreach and development of the tools to fill that interface between province and local government and bringing local governments together. I just want to highlight one thing which we found is absolutely critical is our decision to celebrate the work of the champions. So I send out an e-blast every week, a feature story, and we feature the good work that people are doing, and that's what has an impact, to see the good work that people are doing, because that's the key to kind of creating change. So in terms of a philosophy that drives what we do, here's Glenn Brown, provincial government. Everyone needs to agree on expectations and how all the players will work together. And after that, each community can reach its goals in its own way. So that is kind of, if you think about it, that's the exact opposite of a prescriptive society, because we're recognizing that not all local governments are created equal. And that you can't tell people what to do, but you can try to guide them to agree on what the vision is and to work together and give them the freedom to reach those goals. Now, I'm not saying we've achieved nirvana, because we do have problems, right, in terms of getting everybody on the same page, but it's a philosophy that we consciously in British Columbia decided to follow, the educational route. So we've coined the expression of the phrase, the regional team approach. And there's always been a regional approach. Our accidental aha was inserting the word team, the regional team approach. And we found that changed behavior. It's a little thing, but it changed behavior to talk about regional teams. And so, partnerships and collaboration. This is our process for moving from awareness to action. We call it, as you see, it's the what, so what, now what, then what. And as societies, we have a lot of trouble getting from step one to step two, because we're very good at saying what's the problem. And again, as an engineer, my career has been defined by floods and droughts. And anybody who's an engineer, has been around for a long time, know that once a decade there's a flood. You do a study, right? And then it gets put up on the shelf, nothing happens. There's a drought, same thing. So that's the impediment. So the so what can be done. The language we use is design with nature. It influenced practitioners to design with nature. And that's why I singled out the landscape architects and the need to collaborate and partner with the civil engineer. And so, once you get to that stage, now what can be done? And understanding design with nature, well, embrace shared responsibility. We're all in it together. We're all in it together. We're going to learn by doing. Classical adaptive management, and establishing precedents. And if you can establish those precedents, then what will then replicate? So that's the cycle that we're in. And so that's the significance of focusing on the champions and those who are doing good work. So to build resiliency, which we're all trying to do, it boils down to two things. What we've been doing is demonstrating what can be accomplished through a regional team approach and encouraging all players in the local government setting, and I emphasize local government setting because it's not just local government employees, to embrace shared responsibility. So regional team approach, shared responsibility, Those are foundation pins. Mission possible, we call it. The regional team approach. Like, hey, you can substitute your own words there, couldn't you? Instead of the province, you can put the state, local government. Well, actually, I think I have picked up on one thing. I think we place more emphasis on local government than maybe you do in Australia. That like a lot of countries, like a lot of places, over the last generation or two, there has been a loss of capacity within the senior governments, federal and provincial, and the champions have gravitated to local government. So local government in British Columbia, that's where the action is. That's where your best talent is right now. Those are the people who are driving change. So, but it's more than just local government, right? It's the developers. First Nations, that's our word for Aboriginals, First Nations. And they're an important factor, especially in British Columbia, because our history was British Columbia was the only province where the British didn't have treaties. So we've gone through a process the last 20, 30 years of kind of more than reconciliation. It's really dealing with land claims and beginning to appreciate that the First Nations, where water is a kind of a core part of their society. That's actually a natural alliance between us as about water, because they bring the spiritual dimension. I can't talk about the spiritual stuff to do with water because the people would tune out, but they can. So they're very important. And of course, the stewardship sector. And the stewardship sector, that's a key to the bottom up. Where the drive has come for change over the last 20 years. And then of course the agricultural sector, just like you in Australia, agriculture is a big sector, and then academia. So again, I think this audience, it sounds like you probably represent most of those perspectives, but we call it mission possible. So the partnership, we're responsible for delivering what we're calling the Georgia Basin Interregional Education Initiative. So launched in 2012. So within the Georgia Basin, that's 75% of British Columbia's populations. And so again, it's a case of, like this year, I have to go before the boards and get them to commit. And be very honest with you, I like it when they pass the resolutions in 14 seconds, because it means it's non-controversial, right? It's a recognition that where we're going is important and necessary. And it's no accident that in our province, two of the top issues in local government setting are water sustainability and asset management. And when we did the cross-country tour 2 years ago, other provinces would say, oh, if only we could get our politicians talking about water like you are in British Columbia. And maybe with all your droughts, you do have your politicians talking about water. But I think this is our lessons learned. So if you want one slide which kind of tells quite a story, this is what's necessary for success, kind of the 10 points. Choose to be enabled. I have to explain what that means, because in British Columbia, local government is the most autonomous of all the provinces in Canada. Most autonomous. And so the culture, the philosophy which is governing things is that government does not prescribe, government enables. Government provides an opportunity for local government to create things and do what's needed. So when you're enabled, you have a choice. Do you want to choose to do something or choose not to do something? So if I went back 20 years ago, local governments were choosing not to do things. Today we say choose to do it. Establishing high expectations, not lowering the bar, raising the bar. This is what we want. And so it is important in local government to say this is what we want. Embracing a shared vision. Absolutely critical, especially when you're talking about the fact that as your watersheds are redeveloping, you're saying we get one shot every 50 years. If we blow it this time, it'll be 50 years before we can fix the problem. Collaborating as a regional team. Collaboration, that word just permeates everything about what we do. Aligning and integrating efforts. Celebrating innovation. That was a decision we made in 2005. We were about to embark on a process of creating, a generic, bylaw and supported by standards. And we convened a meeting of regional engineers in the Metro Vancouver region. And as they went around the table, they started talking to each other, and they started realizing they were doing things. And that's when we realized we had to celebrate what the good works that people were doing. We had to connect with community advocates. It's a powerful combination when you have a decision maker in local government and a community advocate on the same page, co-presenting. It's very powerful in terms of elected officials. Developing local government talent. If local government's where the action is, then you have to have a pool of people who know what questions to ask, right? And to know when they're being told nonsense or good stuff. Promoting shared responsibility. Highlighted because unless everybody buys in from top to bottom, it's awful hard to make things happen. And finally, it's all about changing the land ethic. So it's not about the water. If you change the land ethic, you will change the water ethic. Local governments do learn from each other. They do progress through sharing of case study experience. Hence the weekly e-blasts, the Water Bucket website. We tell the stories of those who are spearheading changes, because what we're trying to do is eliminate the disconnect between information and implementation. We know what we need to do. Doesn't necessarily mean we're doing it, right? And so it's overcoming that disconnect. And this is what needs to happen. Everything's kind of founded on education. That means you've got to be patient. So if you look at that graphic, you can go in either any direction, but it all starts with education. Either you go education to understanding and then follow down, or you go education down through strategic goals. Whatever combination you take, that's what you have to get to action and implementation. So hopefully that's part of what your call to action today is going to achieve. Critical success factors: commitment to take action, champions. And part of what we've been doing is building the network of champions, because with any particular local government, there may only be the one champion, and it can be very lonely. So it's linking those people up. Accountability to deliver, the resources to get the job done. But bottom line is inform, educate, and inspire to do better. So to conclude this module, it's taken us more than a decade to implement a policy, program, and regulatory framework that makes possible water resilient communities. And it is key to collaboration. So, our teachable year 2003, remember what I told you about there? 2008, our call to action was a former premier, living water smart and green communities. Finally, by 2014, 3 game changes enable action. The new Water Sustainability Act, developed with care in terms of the environmental protection practices. But the linchpin, the thing that's going to drive change, is asset management for sustainable service delivery, a BC framework, because it comes back to funding. If you want the money, if you want the grants, behavior will change. And we're now in the first year of implementation of the BC framework.